Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tony Payan. I'm the director of the Center for the United States and Mexico at Rice University's Baker Institute in Houston, Texas. Over the years, the center that I direct has dedicated much time to engage in deep conversation with policy, community, and business leaders from around the world, really, who are committed to doing well by doing good. Under this model, the center has become a premier place for the study of Mexico's policy landscape and, of course, the binational relationship. We are very proud to have produced around 250 publications over 8 years, to have hosted dozens of events like this, and of course, to be also the home to the Judy Leigh Allen Mexico-centered podcast, which I invite you to listen if you have a chance. Today, we have one of those events with a stellar guest, one who has deep insight into one of the most important yet understudied phenomena in the world, remittances. Most of the attention goes, of course, to foreign direct investment, to foreign indirect investment, and often to government foreign aid budgets. But remittances transcend both, and often by much. They constitute a leading mechanism by which people daily and sometimes bit by bit improve the lives of many in many countries, in many cities, in many towns, in many small villages, and in many families throughout the world. These transfers result in better nutrition, better education, better healthcare, better living conditions, and better lives in general for millions of people all over the world. This is a story that needs to be told. And Western Union, under the leadership of our guest today, is doubtless a leading conduit for this. It has done so, by the way, for 170 years. So it is my pleasure today to welcome our guest to engage in this important conversation so that we can better understand the force, remittances, that is contributing to a better world. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce to you Hikmet Ersek, the Chief Executive Officer of Western Union. He's, of course, a global leading a global leader in company in cross-currency money movements and payments. There's a great story with more than 30 years of executive experience in financial services. Ersek joined Western Union back in 1999 and became its CEO in 2000. Over the last 20 years, under his leadership, Western Union has successfully diversified and evolved into a global payments company. There are some significant accomplishments in the company's digital and mobile offerings, expanding the company's portfolio into the B2 payments sector, growing its retail money transfer business, implementing new technology platforms, and significantly upgrading the company's global compliance programs. Let me say something about Hikmet. He's a citizen of Austria and Turkey, and Hikmet draws on his international background to speak out publicly for the rights of immigrants. And by the way, immigrants are one of these major forces behind remittances and refugees worldwide. He has been publicly recognized for his commitment to community and corporate responsibility, including as Corporate Responsibility Magazine's Responsible CEO of the Year. In 2019, our guest today, Hikmet, received the Global Economy Prize in Business from the Kyle Institute for the World Economy for his international influence on global issues, and was honored for his meritorious services to the Republic of Austria with the Decoration of Honor. A recipient of the Best FinTech CEO, he has also received the Manager of the Year 2018 award from his alma mater, Wirtschaftsuniversität Wien. In 2016, Ersek was awarded Austrian of the Year by Die Presse and currently serves as the Austrian honorary consul for Colorado, Wyoming, and New Mexico. He is frequently quoted by major global media outlets on business and societal topics such as immigration, digital payments, and global business transformation. He's a member of the International Business Council of the World Economic Forum and the Business Roundtable. Now, a little bit about the background of Hikmet. Ersek began his career in the financial services in Europe when he joined Europay MasterCard in Austria in 1986. A decade later, he joined General Electric Capital, where he also represented the GE Corporation as the national executive in Austria and Slovenia. And of course, he's multilingual, speaks English, German, and Turkish quite fluently, and enjoyed a very short career, by the way, as a basketball player in Europe prior to his business career. He holds a master's degree in economics and business administration from his alma mater, Wirtschaftsuniversität in Vienna, Austria. So without much more ado, the curriculum is very extensive. He's obviously a global leader, and we are very, very proud to have him here in this forum for this conversation. So let me welcome Hikmet. He'll tell us a little bit about his life, his experiences, his views on the financial sector and the future of the world, and then we'll engage in conversation between the two of us. And then, of course, please submit your questions in the Q&A, and I will pick them and then present them to Hikmet for his deliberation. Hikmet, welcome to this forum, and thank you for joining us here at the Baker Institute. We're very proud to have you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Dr. Payan. I think it's really an honor to have me, that I can join the Baker Institute in this conversation. I think the timing couldn't be better to choose that momentum as we still in the middle of a pandemic, although in some parts of the world it looks better. I was yesterday at the Ball Arena, Denver. I watched a hockey game. And if you go to the hockey game, you don't feel that there is a pandemic or there was a pandemic. I think it looks over, but it's not the case. If you especially operate like in Western Union in 200 countries, you see that, especially in developing countries, the pandemic hit really bad, and the need of remittances to buy oxygen mask, the need of the remittances to buy a hand sanitizer. It has been little things like that. It has been very important during this time. And this conversation, I'm looking forward to that conversation, because the importance of remittances is, as you said earlier, it's really underestimated. It's either overlooked, and it's something like given because, it doesn't make the headlines if you talk about migrants. If you talk about their headlines of the migrants, of how they are different, how they support their loved ones. And it doesn't make the headlines to talk about that the remittances overtook the FDIs, foreign direct investments, in 2019. In fact, there's almost $700 billion sent every year globally. $700 billion, no government will do that. No other aid will do that. It's huge. It's the impact of that huge. I mean, one of my beautiful countries, Haiti, also at the same time, one of the poorest countries of the world. 37% of the GDP is dependent on the remittances. And as you know better than me and everybody on this call, that Mexico is a big part of that, right? President Obrador recently said that, Lopez Obrador recently said that the remittances during the pandemic impact 10 million families. And that multiplied by 4 or 5 people per family, it's about 50 million people get direct positive impact from remittances to Mexico, and that's huge. Now, why is that so important? According to recent studies during the last 18 months, about 125 million people more pushed back to the poverty during pandemic. I'm talking about incremental, there's a poverty, and alone the 2020, the pandemic put 125 million people. Now, saying that that means that it's important that people in the poverty get the cash flow, get the money. It's not only sending money. When you send money, as you said earlier, we always say that you send more than money. You send money, you send support, you send education, you said pay your electricity bills, you send medicine. Maybe, you know, I can tell you one story. The reason why I joined Western Union was 99, was that I was sending money to my father. I was living in Vienna and sending money from Austria to Turkey. And Turkey, and my father needed heart medicine in that days, and it was a quite expensive medicine, right? And it took me like sending money via a bank. Western Union was nowhere there in that days. In Turkey took me about 3 to 4 days. So it was 2 to 4 days of suffering of my father to get the medicine. I said, okay, if you do it with Western Union and send money immediately, I will join this company, because there are millions of people like me. Forget Western Union for a second. Millions of people like me worldwide. Currently, 270 million people worldwide want to support more than 1 billion, 1.5 billion people on the other side of the coin. So it's really connecting 270 migrants. What we do is that sending money to 1 billion people plus globally. And that's about $700 billion, a huge money. And our average transaction, Tony, is about $300, $350. Now, you said that $300 is nothing. It's a lot of money in El Salvador. It's a lot of money in Vietnam. It's a lot of money in the Philippines. With $300, you can easily send a child for a year to school with $300 in Philippines. And this is sending a child to a school. It's a life-changing moment, because this kid in the future will go to school, will create jobs and everything. You know, that's the remittance impact is huge. So I know also that, you know, there are so many stories from our customers. They tell us daily how they support their loved ones. It's not only sending money on a person to person, it's also supporting businesses. I know many remittances from Germany to Turkey goes, right? And the Turkish guy with that remittance buys a car to serve the tourists. They visit Turkey to drive the tourists, right? It's creating already a job there, and then creating a second job. I've been seeing in many African countries that the money has been transferred or creates immediately jobs for women. And in fact, most of our transactions, more than 50% of our transactions, are received by women, and they really support immediately their loved ones, or the others are really supporting, and it's building a lifetime opportunity for many people, and that's really overlooked. And they are not stories that people really want to talk about that. So it's all about dignity. When you send money, you send dignity. When you send money, you send opportunity. When you send money, you send hope. And that's so connected to economical empowerment. It's just not only sending $300. It's really sending the opportunity and building new opportunities in the received countries. And the fact is that we are in an environment which borders are built. Protectionism is getting, unfortunately, more political subject. People underestimate that the new globalization is more connected than in the former globalization. It's a different way of globalization. The globalization took definitely a time out, but it's really more connected, and the people are connected for more than we think, actually. And during the pandemic, it showed, especially during the pandemic, that the people want to be connected and support their loved ones. Now, the World Bank said that the remittances will go down about 2% versus 2019. I believe it's very pessimistic for 2021. Our Oxford study showed that the remittances will continue to grow. The people, regardless, are they a plumber in Los Angeles, or are they a scientist in San Francisco, or are they a professor in Finland, Helsinki, they're gonna support their loved ones back home. They're connected. And the world is more connected than ever. And we, as Western Union, built bridges for 170 years. And we are continuing to build that bridges. We built bridges maybe with telegraph lines in the past. Now we are building digitally the world, really sending money from one point to another point and connecting the people. That motivates me as CEO. I'm an immigrant 2 times. I left my beloved Turkey in '79 and then go to Austria. I left my beloved Austria in 2000, and then 2010 I came to the United States. I'm now in my beloved United States. That's how immigrants feel. They are double belongers, triple belongers, and they belong to the new country. They do their contribution to the country. They produce the contribution like me. They make money. They pay their taxes. But at the same time, while they're paying their taxes to the country, they're also supporting their loved ones back home, and that can't be underestimated. And that's huge. And thank you once again, Dr. Payan, having me here. I just want to make the point how important that the global economy is. Without the remittances, the world will be another not good place. And I would like to thank many millions of people who do that contribution to support the other parts of the world and give the economical empowerment to millions of people.
Thank you, Hikmet. That's a very interesting reflection. Let me begin. Well, I'm going to invite our audience to submit their questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom center of your screen. I already see a question here. But before I go to the questions, I have a few questions myself to kind of engage in conversation. You mentioned the word globalization. What do you think globalization gets such a bad rap? Because we often think about globalization, and certainly today, like you said, there's been some pushback to globalization, and people tend to focus on large corporations and businesses. But the immigrant is a globalizer. The immigrant that sends a remittance to their family for healthcare, for education, for fixing the house, for opening a small business, for buying a vehicle, and things like that, they're globalizers too. And so how can we get that better face, that nobler face of globalization to be understood? Why is it that we always focus on the bad aspects of globalization and we don't focus on these other more benign components of it?
Well, I believe I can give you an answer from the CEO leading a global company in 200 countries, probably in the last miles of every country, can give you my view that globalization is a good thing and has been a good thing and going to continue to be the good thing. The question is how you define. Life is all about perspectives. Some people put headlines there and say that, okay, globalization killed the jobs in Detroit, it's bad. It's not the case. Globalization in the world created so many opportunities to so many people. We live in one planet. We have one planet, one world, which is connected. And this world hosts almost 8 billion people globally. And the anti-globalization currently, which says anti-globalization, which I don't believe it's just taking a break, but I'll tell you come in a moment. But the protective environment currently really is going to the wrong direction because it forgets the people who really need to be included. And our problems today are not local problems. Our problems like environment issues, like global warming, like the global migration, like the wealth distribution, global taxations are not local issues, it's our global issues. To solve the global issues, you need global solution, you need globalization. By definition, you need the globalization. So I would say that the headlines doesn't reflect the beauty of globalization. The new globalization, as in the past, the globalization was connected by people moving goods cross-border. Today, globalization is connected, moving information, data cross-border. And regardless where you come from, made it much easier to have people included in the globalization because the moving digital information globally, the internet and the communication, it's a kind of a common good for everyone. So how come that we have we think that sometimes in the West we are better people to exclude people from that inclusion of that? Borders and walls won't stop that. You can't build a wall high enough to have stopping an information flow or connecting with the people. And in fact, if we don't solve the global issues like the global warming, the migration issues will be even now a climate issue reflects the migration issues will be even worse. The demographic issues are already huge in the west part of the world. People are getting older, and the childbirth is not there. And so, besides that, if the global global warming will push people more and more to the other places, even it will happen that the developed countries where there's a lot of money, or where countries like being in the Gulf states, things get hotter and all is not getting that interesting anymore. Even these countries will have contra-migration issues in the future. So we have to really solve these issues, and it starts really with the wealth distribution. And we have to include, we can't think in borders, we have to think of in cross borders to solve these issues globally.
Yeah, Hikmet, let me ask you, because I'm looking at your background, and there's a telephone in there, and so to me it's kind of interesting. You've been with Western Union for 20 years, and you've been a CEO, and surely you lived the transition from having to go to a brick and mortar place and hand over cash and get some format filled out, and then that money sent over to somebody, and then that person at the recipient having to go to a mortar place to pick up the cash. I mean, I remember my graduate years, my years as a graduate student in Washington, and receiving money that way. But now it's right here. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience of how you made that technological leap to facilitate the lives of these people who are transferring money now, and the app and the technology that you introduced and the way money now moves, which is electrons really. Can you tell us a little bit about those trends, technological trends that you lived through? And if you have a good story to share with us,
sure,
as you made the transition, it might be interesting to hear.
Sure. Obviously, everything starts by listening to the customer, to the needs of the people. Western Union doesn't move cash. We only move bits, right? Information from one country to another country. That in 137 currencies, 21 transactions every second, and we move about $300 billion yearly in different parts of that, right? And 80 billion of that is from consumer to consumer, but we move, huge money, and we are an engine behind that. And we don't do that by carrying a horse carriage cash from one location to another location. That's the perception. But why? The people in the one other part of the world, if they want a cash payout, we pay out in cash. If they want to have the money on a wallet, a mobile wallet, we pay out into a wallet. If they want to have it on a digital money on a wallet, we pay out in digital currency in a wallet. If they have money on an account, we pay out in minutes in an account, that in 137 currencies. So what Western Union is that listening to the customer needs on the send side, which is, let's say, a migrant here in Denver, I'm calling today from Denver, or on the receive side, a migrant in Serbia, right? And in that case, we are asking the customer how they want to pay out. And you can go to your mobile phone, and you see in the back and boom, I like my mobile phone, and you can say that, okay, you can send money, and you can choose how the receiver wants to receive the money. You want to receive on a mobile wallet, on an account, or on a cash payout. So Western Union always has been listening to the customer needs. Now, our customers coming from different economical environments. Some customers do have a mobile wallet. Some customers don't have a mobile wallet. Some customers want to prefer to go to a location to pick up money in cash, because if they have a mobile wallet, they can't even use it in some countries. There's no infrastructure that you could use your mobile wallet, go to in Uganda, North Uganda, go to a merchant and pay with your barcode there. It doesn't work. So but this customer still needs to pay the school fees. So how they did, they pull it in cash and go to the school and pay the school fees or pay the taxes or pay the bills in cash because the acceptance is in cash. What Western Union is doing is that globally, in 200 countries, connecting different needs of technical needs. Now, the technical environment, the change, it's not easy for a company like Western Union, which already had this 500,000 network worldwide in 200 countries. To launch a mobile wallet, a digital wallet, you need a bank license or a regulatory approval. You need to know your customer. You have to know the compliance issues. Is that most of our, almost thank God, most of our transactions are for good. But to protect our customers, we also want to make anti-money laundering checks, know your customer checks. You have to have that to launch a mobile wallet, to launch a digital currency, to report to the central banks. And that is regulated to 200 countries. And that journey has been a great journey. In fact, our fastest growing business is the digital business, sending money via mobile. And I'm sending money via mobile phone globally. And we can do that in 75 countries to 200 countries in minutes. So in real time, I can take, let's say Canadian dollars and pay out in Colombian peso in minutes. Or I can take euro from Germany, pay out in Turkish lira in minutes. Or from Russia, from rubles, and pay out in Tajikistan in minutes in Dushanbe in a location. That connection, and we did that via mobile phones, and that's the digital growth has been impressive. In revenue terms, even we are by far the largest here, and hitting $1 billion only on mobile, only on online digital transactions, $1 billion, and it's growing the fastest, and it's going to continue to grow. And these customer segments are banked, by the way. They're not underbanked. By nature, you need an account to send money. On the receive side, you could be underbanked also to receive the money.
Yeah, when I was thinking about my introduction, you may have noticed the sentence, doing well by doing good. And I think perhaps your business is doing well by doing good. I mean, you do the good, and then in the process, you do well. And obviously, your company has prospered because of that. But now let me ask you about the trend. When you mentioned the almost $700 billion, that is huge. That is a huge number, and we know the numbers are growing. In Mexico, for example, where I'm sitting right now, 2020, despite the pandemic, saw remittances grow to $40.5 billion from the United States to Mexico.
Unbelievable.
And this year, early in the first quarter, the remittances are up by another 20%. Or so. Certainly in January, the report said 19%. And that just keeps going. Where is this going? How is this? Where do you visualize this in the next year, 5, 10, 20 years? What is this business going to be like? What are the migrants going to be sending? What is the impact of all this going to be in your, if you have a little crystal ball and you can kind of see the future, where would you say it's going?
Well, remittances won't stop. It's going to continue to grow as the world is, as I said, being connected. I think the remittances, besides sending money from person to person, there is also a huge number which we don't have it in that, is that sending money to paying your bills directly, or sending money to yourself to save money in your country you are for the future retirement, or all these things, right? These are a big part of that. There are different use cases going to continue to grow. As I started at Western Union 20 years ago, my number one corridor, we call it corridor, sending from one country to another country, as I was responsible in Europe for the business, was UK to Albania. And the Eastern Bloc just fell apart, and people were moving to Europe, and Albania was one of the countries. It was a closed economy, a closed country, just opened the borders. People were moving to UK and to Italy, and immediately they sent money. And nobody will thought about that's gonna be big. Or my country, Turkey, where I was born native, from Turkey was a receive country, receiving remittances. And as the Turkish economy changed and joined in the early 2000s to G20, and suddenly they started to send money. Turkey went to be an outbound country. The same went with Russia. Russia giving the, turning the economy to more to fuel and oil or gas industry, and created new jobs, attracted migrants from Central Asia. And actually, number one corridor from Russia outbound is Uzbekistan. And not many people will think about that the economical environment, once it changes, when the environment of a country changes, immediately happens also the corridor changes. One of our growth engines is intra-Africa, sending money from Gabon to other African countries, sending money from Kenya to other, you immediately think that Kenya is a receive country, but has also a huge industry on the tourism, and it attracts people from Zambia, it attracts people from other parts of the countries, and they send money, or they trade also within Africa within different currencies. So this business, we are operating in 40,000 corridors. The customer needs is changing over time. Now, it's not only migration, right, which drives this business, it's also the global trade. It's interesting that the trade is not a monopoly of big companies anymore. The trade is getting more diverse. Small and medium-sized companies are much included in the global economy. You could be an entrepreneur from your mobile phone today. You could do your accounting on your mobile phone. You could do your reporting on your mobile phone, your communication on your mobile phone. Your mobile phone is your back office. At the same time, one hard thing is though sending money and receiving money on your mobile phone, right? And we at Western Union enabled that. That's definitely also a future going, including more and more people in the global economy and making more and more people more entrepreneurial. It's happening on that. And Western Union allows that an Indonesian exporter which sends goods to Canada receives the money immediately from Canada. So it creates cash flow. That cash flow creates jobs in Indonesia. There's the poverty, and that's happening. So the empowerment of empowerment of the small entities are getting more impactful to the global economy. It's not a monopoly anymore of only you need a big headquarters, you need a big offices. And pandemic definitely changed the environment. That's a different discussion, but that's happening, and that's exactly happened at Western Union. And the future of the global movement is definitely something besides the migration, also movement of small entities and connecting more and more. And usually, what we do is we always look at the traditional countries like US to UK to European Union, but there's huge developments within Southeast Asian countries, within Latin America countries, connecting among each other, and really transferring money and sending goods and creating jobs. That's one thing we should continue to look at that, and that will be definitely the future. And Western Union has a platform, regardless which customer segment you are a consumer or a business or a university. Student pays is a big thing for us, right? People are going abroad to study and they need to pay their fees in local currency, and the university wants to accept the fees in dollars or euros or whatever that is. Or hospital payments, where you go cross-border to Cuba or to other countries which you might do your heart surgery. Or because you don't have that in your area, and you could do that in other countries, to Brazil, or I know that a big medical tourism is to Turkey, from Gulf countries to Turkey to their surgeries, and they transfer money also, and Western Union enables that. And we have one platform for multi-currency, for multi-users or use cases.
I want to ask you about your partnerships, your company's partnerships, but before I do that, you mentioned something that I would be remiss if I didn't follow through or follow up on, and that is the pandemic. Obviously, we've just been through a very difficult year and a half, really, and some countries are still not out of it. What, in your view, has been the impact of the pandemic itself on remittances? Up, down, flat, no impact? how do you see that interaction? Because I'm pretty sure that you have a good reference. You have 20 years of experience, and then you have a year and a half of a pandemic. So you have a control group of years and then a pandemic. And so what have you seen there?
Well, as we've seen, obviously we've seen a lot for 170 years, different crises, different issues. Obviously, I have seen the financial crisis 2008 to 2000, in some countries even to 2011. That 3-4 years, we've seen that the impact of that. But I never seen something like the pandemic. I have to admit that. But that impact to the global economy, the job losses, and the sudden change of behavior, the way of working, way of creating cash flow to support the other ones has changed totally. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly, though, Tony, the remittances have been almost not impacted. The World Bank, in the beginning of the pandemic, of course, things were closed, right? In some countries, just lockdowns and everything, we did feel that. But generally, I would say that the World Bank came out with a projection saying that remittances will go to minus 20%. I immediately responded to the World Bank because, being in the business 20 years, saying that we don't think it's going to be that pessimistic. And we did see some, due to lockdown, some slowdown in some countries to send money because you couldn't go to a location to send money. At the same time, a huge increase on our digital money transfer during the pandemic because people were sitting at home and still support their loved ones. So the digital growth made the gap, closed the gap on the retail money transfer. And now the locations opened again as essential services. Remember the time after 6 months, they said, okay, most of the locations like post offices, bank locations, like the retail shop is essential services where Western Union is. Immediately we saw once they opened, the people were running to the location to support their loved ones. Now, you have to understand why is that important during the pandemic. While we think in the West, where we have, in a much better position with the pandemic because of the vaccination, in many parts of the world, the vaccination didn't even start yet. Right. And they suffer. And for us, we lock down us, go to home, we work from home, we lock down us, and we have the luxury, we have a home. In many countries, in received countries, they would be happy to have a home, to get locked down. They can't even go to a lockdown to a home. Or then even in some countries, they would be happy to have a hand sanitizer because they don't have the money to buy a hand sanitizer or oxygen, to go to a hospital, get the oxygen to survive 2 days to recover from the COVID-19. And that remittances during this time, during that part, help them to buy oxygen, to be at home with the loved ones, to call a doctor, or to even have a hand sanitizer, or to buy a mask. That big difference made the remittances. And during this time, we see, it's so resilient, our business. We didn't see the impact during this time, and the people couldn't travel. The people couldn't cross the borders to travel to see their loved ones. And they normally when they travel, they take money with them and, go celebrate their Diwali or their back to school or, whatever, their birthdays or Christmas, but they couldn't do that. So they choose Western Union during that time. And during this time also we supported, we made like zero fee to India currently. We are supporting, you said sending money is doing good also. We saw immediately what's happening in India currently. We did a zero fee to drive the transactions there, that the people could get immediately oxygen to support their loved ones, and this to pay out in rupees, sending money in dollars, pay out in rupees, sending money in dirhams, pay out in rupees. That's what we have done. And the pandemic, I have to say that Western Union is fortunate to continue to support their loved ones. And regardless of the pandemic, regardless of the economical issues, regardless of what is that, people want to be connected and support their loved ones. And people want to be connected, create jobs. People want to be cross-border connected. No politician, no wall can stop that.
Hikmet, I want to ask two final questions on my part before I take a number of questions that are already coming in. One of them is your company operates in a web. Obviously, you don't operate in a vacuum. It's a web of partnerships and associations with other companies. What's next for the company? Where are you developing these partnerships? I'm thinking of course, the banking sector. Of course, I'm thinking the kind of stores that you need to tap into, because I see when I walk in the street, often you see this little sign hanging on the wall in some stores, some supermarket. It just says Western Union, and I know that that's a place for me to stop by and do what I need to do. There's obviously Amazon. There's obviously other. You can send products. You can send. So where is your company going? Where are these partnerships going? What are you exploring? Where are you coming from?
So obviously we connect the world in 200 countries via partners. Without partnership, Western Union wouldn't work. Western Union is choosing the best partners, and partners are choosing Western Union as a very trusted partner. If you have an agreement with a bank, La Banque Postale in France, which is one of the biggest savings banks there, and retail banks, you choose a partner. They too choose your partner as a lifetime, because they want to serve their customers in a better way. We have partners in worldwide in 200 countries like that. 75% of our partners are financial institutions or banks. Besides that, recently we have also digital partners. We signed about 2 years ago an agreement with Amazon. So that enables people buying online, ordering online in Colombia, for instance, and going to a Western Union location, paying in pesos, so they can get their goods sent to Colombia. They can pick it up because they want to be a part of the society we talked earlier. They want to be part of they want to be economically empowered. They don't want to say that I'm living in Colombia, I can't be a part of the digital shopping environment. I want to be part of that. And Western Union enables that. The same recently we announced it was Google Pay. Google Pay is having a app saying that, okay, people can pay their bills via Google or do other things, but now they can also cross-border money, send cross-border to India, for instance, right? From US with Google Pay, or to Singapore and using Western Union there. It says Google Pay, and the engine behind that and the payout behind that is Western Union. That's another partnership. We recently announced an ecosystem partnership in Saudi Arabia with Saudi Arabia Telecom. Saudi Arabia Telecom is building this digital bank in Saudi Arabia for migrants, and they need a partner to do that. And we invested there, and we are building an ecosystem in Saudi Arabia to serve, besides money transfer, also other needs for the customers. And the last one is that recently we announced in the US, which we've been doing in Canada and Mexico already with Walmart. Walmart has chosen us to serve their customers in a better way because they know that Western Union has the best and the largest money transfer company. So regardless where you come from, regardless what your background is, regardless what your religion, ethnicity is, you go to a Walmart location and you see Western Union there, you feel comfortable sending money as a Muslim to Bangladesh, or sending money as a Christian to Colombia, or sending money which race you are, regardless of race you are, to Uganda. You feel comfortable. That actually also combines their values with our values, right? Walmart's values, serving anyone, any type of customer in a right way. That's also Western Union DNA. So these are big partnerships, just as Sinan. The next partnerships are definitely many banks are looking at our platform to serve their customers better, to taking our platform as a white label, saying that, okay, their platform is so great, I want to use my brand here, like we did it in Russia with Sberbank, for instance, one of the largest retail banks, sending money. Here also in the US, or we recently announced in Japan and Korea, banks, they say they use their brand, and Western Union is the engine behind that to serve the receive side in a much better way. We started also some digital currency partnerships, right? And as long as it is regulated, I'm in. As long as it's a use case, and I think we can discuss. I saw a lot of questions also on the digital currency a lot. We can discuss about that. I think Western Union is a platform for all currencies. Is it the rupee, is the dollar, is the euro, or is the digital currency? As long as it's regulated, we can take, and consumer needs are there, and translate that to another currency. That's our strength, and that's going to happen with the partnerships.
Let me take some of the, I'll come back to the last question, which is a message from you, obviously somebody who's practically sees the world complete. I mean, you have operations in 200 countries, few companies really do. And so you have a global vision. But before I ask you to send a message to them, let's go to a couple of questions here on cryptocurrency. There's a few of them. The impact of potential, I guess, impact of cryptocurrency on remittances, and another question about what is the way to send families? I guess it's a couple of questions on cryptocurrencies. And you saw that the president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, announced that cryptocurrencies are now an official currency of El Salvador. I don't know what that means, by the way. But what are your initial reflections on this? What is potentially the interaction between what you do, your company, and this overhyped, I think, market of cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I think everything starts with definition. How we define cryptocurrency. There are different. There are privately held cryptocurrencies. There are assets. There are use cases. There are central bank cryptocurrencies, issued cryptocurrencies. So far, it has been more headlines, except some cryptocurrencies as assets, not as use cases, as payment instruments. And as you know, there were been the volatility of currency like Bitcoin is given also because there is no common use case yet that you can take a Bitcoin and pay your school fees in Uganda. It's not working because there is no acceptance from Uganda for a Bitcoin to pay $200 school fee. And so I think in some cases, the cryptocurrency is even forced to digital divide more than it's supposed to be. Because the idea was that with the cryptocurrencies, everybody should include it, right? And it should be easier to move money. It should be easier to make the payments. But that's the opposite side what's happening currently. It's really owned, the cryptocurrency assets as an assets are owned by rich people, full stop. People who can afford to buy one Bitcoin or other people and to invest there and get out there in that right moment to make the trading, to make money in dollars, in normal currencies. And this is different discussion than on what's happening. We have 7 billion people, guys, or 8 billion people worldwide, right? 1.7 billion of them are underbanked, non-banked, and about another billion, they say that really don't have an access to the normal financial system. I'm not talking about crypto system. And the idea of cryptocurrency was including everyone. The world is going in the wrong direction. It's actually dividing more and excluding more people from the inclusion of that system. Now, different discussion is the blockchain discussion and how you use the technology to move money, making easier globally. And how do you use a stable currency, which we're seeing by itself is a stable currency, has that to take one currency, translating to another currency and moving immediately. And we've been doing that for many, many years, and we are continuing to invest in the technology to move money faster and better and cheaper and for more customers. And the other thing is also on the cryptocurrency. Look, I'll take cryptocurrency immediately if one country says is it El Salvador or not. That's officially our new currency, and we can do the know your customer. We can do the anti-money laundering. We can report there. We can do the reporting to the Reserve Bank, the currency reporting to the Reserve Bank. You could do that immediately. However, I didn't see any El Salvadorian coming to Western Union location saying that I want to send $300 in cryptocurrency to support my grandma that she can go to a hospital because she needs oxygen. I have not seen that use case yet.
There's a leap. I think there's a conceptual leap that Mr. Bukele may have to make before operationalizing how cryptocurrencies will work on a daily basis, because so far it has remained kind of an exclusive market, so to speak. So there's a question by a journalist. She says, "Can you confirm that the lockdown and the pandemic pushed more migrants to send money electronically to their families, and that may explain the statistics in the remittances?" I think you already spoke to that, but I don't know if you have anything else to add to the question. That yeah, the lockdown, obviously you can't go anywhere, you can't travel, you can't carry the cash. And where do you go? You go to the electronic mechanisms, right?
Yeah, I think that we have to differentiate that. So yes, the remittances, the people get more motivated because travel get less, right? And people want to send money to their loved ones. But as I mentioned earlier, it's the way they send money is not that the retail went less, because we always send money digitally, right? So right. People just carry it to a location right. Cash. But I can confirm that our digital business and global digital expansion came, but they're new customers. They used to travel maybe back home, take their cash with them or take their credit card with them, go to an ATM in Mexico, pick up and give the relatives the money. That has been, obviously, the behavior change has been done fully to digital. The other thing happened also to digital is that what we see is that on the digital westernunion.com customers, 80% of our customers are new to Western Union. So that's a new customer segment. Suddenly say that, okay, we build trust here. There's a trust brand with Western Union. In the times like that, I believe on trust. I want to make sure that the money really arrives there. And they immediately, instead of giving to a friend or to other thing, they said, okay, there's a trusted brand which delivers the money in minutes. And the fees are affordable, and plus they protect me and my privacy and my my data, and I trust them. That has been big impact to our business, doing that money transfer electronically.
Yeah. Now there's a lot of talk about remittances, of course, from the United States to the Philippines, to India, to Mexico, which are probably among the top recipients. But there's, as you mentioned, many other countries. Africa is the big mystery. Where do you see future growth? Where are the opportunities in the next 10, 20 years in terms of money transfers and this kind of what I think is really wealth distribution and the ability of people to help their families live better, really? Where are these opportunities?
So I can say from Western Union side, as I said earlier, we are doing business 137 currencies, 21 transactions every second. I can say that also that we have 40,000 corridors. There are many countries we are really active, sending money from Malta to Greece, from Greece to Israel, from Israel to Spain, from Spain to Ecuador, or whatever. You can build that. All that we do that in different currencies. But none of our countries except US is definitely as one country with $380 million, 400 million people around the world, is one of the biggest. But none of our countries are bigger than 7% of our revenue. Number 5, number 6, number 7 countries already 2 to 1% of our revenue. So the economical environment is different on that. The growth will definitely come as people get more digitally included and banked globally for people. So today, if we start to have, talking about El Salvador or Bitcoin, like President Bukele said earlier, Bitcoin, but in El Salvador, there is no payments system. Once the payment system is established in El Salvador or other countries like Bangladesh, everything where people can have mobile wallets, I'm not talking about on the top 5% of the people, really the people, then the payment system will be more digitally driven. It's not only a privilege for the rich, also privilege for others. Then I think the growth will come from there as more and more people will include it in an ecosystem. And Western Union is doing that. We are building this ecosystem for migrants, besides sending money, also offering other financial services, offering even travel, buying a travel or online shopping. We have Western Union with the migrant community, but also in the received countries, on developing countries, really build on trust, offering more financial services to them. Just include them, give them the dignity, saying that it's good to have money on a mobile phone. And if you receive $300, please put $100 to side and use the $200 and just be safe there. Learn the financial inclusion means also financial education. What do you do with your money? How do you save it? How do you use it on the phone? How you spend it? What is good for the education? What is good for the people? And that's the future opportunity of financial services, empowering more and more people with financial services, not only focusing on the top of the pyramid, but really empowering the bottom of the pyramid. And there is nothing wrong making money by empowering the bottom of the pyramid. Western Union is a publicly traded company. We are very much driven with our quarterly results, with our guidance and everything. And we are very much shareholder focused, and we are doing a good job on that. But at the same time, the stakeholder value, serving millions of customers from the bottom of the pyramid and making money, it's important, because if we wouldn't make money, we wouldn't be in the last miles of El Salvador or Bangladesh or Vietnam.
Yeah, I think perhaps one of the most interesting aspects of your conversation has been trust, the word trust. Trust is a capital, is a type of capital. I would never probably think twice about the fact that I may be cheated out of my money if I sent money to family in Mexico by Western Union. I think that is a key thing, because I know the money will get there, and it will be claimed by the right person, the right relative, for the right purpose, and so on. And so underneath all that, underneath all the financial aspects of your company, I think it's that basic element. This is a trusted brand. It's people who can, I can rest assured that you're going to do what you're going to do. But there's a question that I think might be interesting, you being the CEO. $700 billion, a huge market, and you mentioned your share is quite a substantive percentage of that. There's other companies. What does it take to stay ahead of the competition? Because there's obviously many different ways to send money. I remember obviously somebody in the United States who gave his mother a credit card, or in Mexico, that charged no international fee. So she used the credit card in Mexico. He paid it in the United States. That's a way of doing it, right? I mean, so how do you stay ahead and make sure that you're at the edge of your competition, whoever that may be?
Yeah, I think it's investing in the innovation. Why it's the key on that one, right? Really understanding the needs of the customer by investing in innovation. Look, the market is huge. The most big market is done via bank-to-bank transfers. On that, there are money transfer companies like Western Union with unique platform, and we are by far, right, as you said, that we are thing. But the big market is done by correspondent banking, a bank sending money from Spain to Uzbekistan, right? And that's a bank-to-bank, and that's not working very well. Where Western Union, I think that we have the big opportunity because people can still use the banks here, right? But the platform behind that is Western Union's white label platform, and that's a huge opportunity for Western Union, and we are growing very fast on that, especially on the currencies where it's not traditional currencies between euro and dollar, but other currencies. That's a huge opportunity. Listen. Me as a leader, when you ask the personal question, how do you stay ahead on that? Me as a leader is that, look, I go on Fridays to locations and sit down there and talk to the people. I go on. My son is now, goes to business for 21 years. He is basically a Western Union kid because I was 21 years at Western Union. I remember I will pick him up from the school. We go to a location, sit down there for an hour and talk to the migrants, talk to the people who really wants to send money in a different way. Or, if we get customer complaints, believe me, I read every mail. And the people, my email is there, and the people send directly emails to me, directly tweet to me, and I send that every copy of that mail to my team. We sit down and say that, okay, what is the issue and what is the opportunity? How can we do better? What's the future of Western Union looks like if we solve that customer issues? I'm not smarter than any customer here. I'm not sitting in a corner office saying that, I have the idea. I have the innovative idea. I know the future of Western Union, future of the payments, how we keep that. But one thing we do very well is that we listen to the customers. They tell you, as long as you tell them, tell somebody who's been suffering, going away from home, miles away, just to support their loved ones in an easy way, and really having maybe 2 jobs or 3 jobs, maybe being the frontline hero during the pandemic. The most of the Filipino nurses were frontline heroes. Many of them also get impacted. Some of them even died during the pandemic. They were heroes, left their families back home just to support their, listen to their stories. They are the most innovative people. They're migrants. They are, they have this X factor. They have this edge, and they tell you what the Western Union's future looks like. And one of the things is that they tell us that building an ecosystem, belonging to that club, Western Union club, being trusted here with trust, because if I can send money which arrives there, I can also have a credit card, have a mobile wallet, buy a travel book via westernunion.com, also my travel back to Philippines, and buy an insurance. That's something that we are investing in, and we are looking at that, and that's the customers told us to do so.
As we begin to kind of wrap up, I have a question about public policy. You obviously have to interact with no less than 200 governments. Public policy wise, what are some of the things that you would like to see changes in public policy practices that you think may make not your job easier, but to magnify the potential of this wealth that is being transferred from family to family, from individual to individual, and that it's really making people's lives better? How can governments really facilitate that from public policy to really just say, hey, this is important? And I'm thinking about Mexico in the sense that I remember there was a program back in I think it was the Fox administration in the early 2000s, in which the government said 3 for 1. And so the government would say, if the migrants in Los Angeles send $1 to San Miguel in Guanajuato, Mexico, to pave the streets, to improve the community, the government will put in 3. And so it was a program that tried to magnify the impact from a public policy. But I'm talking about many different aspects: financial, infrastructure, and things like that. What kinds of policies you think would make this a much easier?
Dr. Payan, my list is long in 200 countries, obviously. But
right.
let me start with the overall picture. I said, first of all, is the fair immigration and integration is the most important one, right? I mean, don't be unfair because you are immigrant. Make it integration after the integration easy for the people. They arrive, they build the country. I mean, US is definitely a country built on migrants and continue to do so. And that has to be in the public policy. And the other thing is that it happens in many countries. Don't blame for every issue the migrants. It's easy to blame them because they don't have a flag, they don't have a nationality. There are 270. You think about 270 million people. They would be, I think, 5th or 6th biggest country if they get united with one unity. They would be a power, but they don't have it. Everything is blamed on the people who are the bottom of the pyramid, and that's something I think that has to change from the image. The impact of the remittances, the impact of the migration has to be on the top of the agenda because they build the country, they arrive and support their loved ones. Can you imagine that? You are not using your own budget to support the other countries. You're empowering the people, your own people, to support the other countries to remittances. The world would be in a worse place if they don't do that. So empower them, help them to help that. The programs, as you mentioned earlier, are great tools to do so. The other thing, one pragmatic thing, will be to the US government. I mean, let's make it happen again that Cuba receives remittances again. The former administration said there is no remittances to Cuba anymore. But I think many people, including in Florida, including Cuban families, want to support their loved ones back, regardless of political position. They just want to support there because it's their family members. It's just it's not like doing any political agenda, just going to the hospital, just living day by day, and their loved ones in Florida, they want to be connected. And this kind of things, I think, it's on top of my agenda. And there are other examples worldwide. I brought that up because we are in the US.
Right.
There are other examples also on the public policy wise. And then there are discussions also taxing the remittances. I think we should give them a bonus, not taxing the remittances.
Right.
We should give them a bonus. We should say thank you, because with that I can focus my budget allocation to other things, my tax allocation to other like infrastructure, and you guys handle the support with $700 billion of remittances globally. That you are a big force. Thank you. Instead of punishing them, they send money. Remittances, tax on remittances would be really the worst.
Great. I'm glad you focused on immigration, and I'm glad you focused on this crazy idea of taxing remittances when it's really just small, like you said, $300, $200, $400 to help directly, family to family aid. That's what it is. So to conclude, your last message, what do you want us, 150, 200 people that are connected here, what do you want us to take away in concluding?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you very much for having me. I mean, as you could say, I'm very excited about this business because we are connecting the world as Western Union. I'm a fortunate employee of Western Union, that I'm a part of that I see that daily, how important the connection globally is, how important the people's contribution should not be underestimated and not overlooked. It should be a top of an agenda. It should drive the things, what's happening out of the discussion with remittances. It's a huge factor to the global well-being, to connectivity and building bridges.
Great. Well, thank you, Hikmet. I've learned a lot, and thank you for joining us at the Baker Institute for this very interesting conversation. It's one thing that we'll be looking at very closely because I repeat, it is remittances surpass foreign indirect aid, and of course all governmental foreign aid budgets. This is really individual to individual, family to family, and there's nothing bad about it. It's all about improvement day to day. So thank you so much for joining us, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you at the next event at the Baker Institute. Bye-bye.
Good, Dr. Pan.